Good evening, researchers. I wanted to open up this video in a little better of a way, but unfortunately, or maybe more indicative of what I'm going to be talking about with this video. Elysium's website is once again 504ing. It's a gateway timeout. That means their server is borked. So I wanted to take time during this video, or at least for the majority of the video, to talk about in a retrospect how the Elysium non-fresh start server launches went. And again, in indicative of that subject, their website is once again on the fritz. So I'm gonna refresh this a few times. Hopefully I can get this. There we go. Realm status. Please show me realm status. Perfect. Thank you. It is working. Thank you so much. It was working about 10 minutes ago. I started recording. It stopped working. I said, I'm going to go with it. So thank you for continuing to function. The release or launch, if you will, of the first two servers, the Nostalria's PvE and PvP, has concluded. We are past essentially week one, and we are into the mainstay of what life is going to be like on those servers, at least until we have the fresh start PvP launch. In that situation, we're probably going to see the PvP population drop on this, while the PvE population remains relatively stable. Relatively. We might see a drop of 1,000 or so regular population, which would drop queue times dramatically. Both these servers, I will say, both these servers are on queues right now. The max population on the PvE server, 5,000. The max population on the PvP server, 9.5k. 9.5k. And on a vast majority of times, both of these servers are maxed out. There's a queue for each. This is a rare time, actually, where the NOS PvP server is not queued. Rare time where it's not queued. So, there are times where you can log on and you can just log in as then. You don't have to wait in queue for a while. Not the point of this video, though. Not the point of this video. I wanted to actually talk about, how things have gone. And identify some of the issues that have come up, as well as talk about, what we can do to move forward with the fresh start launch. And then I have a few things to go over with the guild stuff, with our guild, to talk about things that are going on, how we're organizing, because we do have a new way that we're going to be organizing ourselves moving into the future. So with that being said, let's talk about what happened. The PvE server's launch was relatively smooth. It was delayed slightly the day of release, the last Saturday. It was delayed slightly, although not badly. Its stability was pretty badly in flux. They put a cap of 5,000 people on it, and it stabilized pretty dramatically. And I think they felt confident about that cap because a majority of people who were transferring over from the old Nostalria server was going to Nostalria's PvP. That's fine. That's understandable. Unfortunately, the PvP server didn't come up for, I believe it was 6 or 7 hours after they had planned to actually launch them. The servers had come up originally at the time they specified, and then they almost instantly crashed out. People didn't have the proper gear they were supposed to have. I had one epic cloak on my character and a few leather pieces, and that was about it. Very strange. I was laughing my butt off the entire time. However, unfortunately, people didn't have the proper gear, so they had to take the server down, and they had to spend about 6 hours or so fixing it. Eventually, the server did come up, although it was incredibly unstable. Battlegrounds really weren't happening at that time. Eventually getting into an AV a couple days afterwards on a more consistent basis. I definitely enjoyed my Alterac Valley so far on this server. It's good to see them stable, although apparently there are more serious glitches / issues with them. For example, I've been told that the blood turn-in for the Ice Lord, as well as the Wolf Rider turn-ins, don't actually do anything in the long run. You cannot summon them. They're currently bugged. So I don't know if that's true or not. That's only from hearing and from being in really long AVs where we've turned in a lot of both of the resources required for those summons, and they never happen. So we'll see if that's actually an issue moving forward. The next thing that we had is that we had pretty consistent ups and downs over the last 5 days with the servers. Going back to the previous page, you can see the Elysium Twitter is pretty active with announcing, okay, there's an issue with their ISP, or rather their server provider, or there are issues with takedowns that are going on to fix bugs or server crashes, random disconnects. They've been pretty good about letting us know what's going on. And although sometimes I have wished that they were a little more active, at least they do continue to let us know what is happening. I want to know how they're going to be fixing a lot of these up and down issues when the Fresh Start realm comes out, but because I know even with the load that we saw for these launches, the Fresh Start server is going to have an even bigger load. Are we going to see a cap of 9.5K on it as well? How are they going to be handling the amount of people logging on in the same time in the same zones trying to all level at once? Is there a plan? So these are questions I feel need to be answered before we see that Fresh Start server, there we go, launch actually happen. The good side of things have stabilized. Server uptime, if we go back to the Realm status page, server uptime, let's just look at server uptime here. That's been up for about 3.5 hours. That's also been up for about 3.5 hours. There was a crash about 4 hours ago, I think the Twitter said. So that hampered that, obviously. But the uptime on these servers is getting better and better every single day. And now we're getting to the point where it's up for days at a time. That's good. That's really good. That means server stability is improving day by day. The fact that they can still make these great leaps of progress shows that the team isn't giving up. They're not, despite the trouble, despite the issues, they are absolutely not giving up. So that's the good news. That's the really good news. Again, my big question is when the Fresh Start realm happens and everyone loads in on that and we all try to get leveled as fast as possible, how are they going to deal with that? Because again, with the load we saw on the PvP server, that's nothing compared to everyone loading into those starting zones all at once and saying, well, let's do it. Because it's going to get messy. We know it's going to get messy. And I am mildly concerned. In addition, we know for a fact, and the Elysium team was very forward about telling us about this, they had to fight quite a few DDoS efforts. And it's unfortunate that people feel like they need to DDoS this kind of thing, that's important, or they feel like, they want to have some fun and ruin other people's fun at the same time. But it is a thing. And the Elysium staff have again been very forward about saying, hey, you know what, guys, we're fighting a lot of DDoSes right now. I believe on day one, it was 6 separate DDoS efforts. So I don't know who they're from. I would assume there might be a Kronos effort. I hope there isn't a Blizzard DDoS effort, but if I did hear there was some under-the-table DDoSing, it wouldn't surprise me. Again, I don't think Blizzard would try and pull that off. It would endanger their own company, and they wouldn't do that. That's not what they're about. They may not like the private server effort, but they wouldn't do anything illegal to try and stop them. Stop us. Point being, I'm iffy on who is continuing the DDoS efforts. I hope protection has now been put in place. I assume it has, because latency, which was an issue with the server stability in the first few days, has now become a non-issue. Server stability and pings and latency is almost Blizz-like at this point, almost entirely, meaning non-existent. As someone playing from the eastern seaboard of the United States, I barely have ping issues at all, ever. And the only time that I do have ping issues is when I know the server is going to crash, which has been, as I've been logged onto them, 3 or 4 times. It hasn't been a ton. So, again, in retrospect, things started out bumpy. I think it's fair to say that. That's not a dig on the Elysium staff. Things simply started out in a rocky way. However, things have improved dramatically. We're moving forward in a way that shows a lot of positive results, and I think that means a lot of good news for the Fresh Start server when it finally hits. I'm looking forward to it. The guild is looking forward to it, and I think if we continue in this direction and Elysium keeps talking and interacting with us, it's only going to mean good things. So, with that being said, there are a couple things I want to talk about with the guild. Death by Nostalgia. This is our guild chart if you haven't read it over yet. Again, I'm waiting to fill some data here once we start working with a few guilds and I fill officer spots. However, we do have the name Death by Nostalgia. That was decided on a couple weeks ago. We're most likely going to be going with a role-based loot system. I abhor DKP. I think it's, you know, disrespectful to people that have not been in the system the longest. And it really doesn't show the amount of effort that people put in to move forward. So I'm going to be going with some kind of role-based system. I haven't hammered out all the details. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that when I do. However, we do have, and I'm not going to show it here because I want to keep it at least somewhat internal to our Discord server. I do have a Google spreadsheet in which I'm inviting everyone to enter in their information, their character name, their race, their class, their spec, their professions, just so we can get organized for when the launch happens. Now, we've had 15 people or so already enter in their information as of me recording this video, and I just put the document together earlier today. So if you are one of those folks who wants to join our guild, or you're already on the Discord server and you're going to be joining Death by Nostalgia during launch and you want to be a part of the effort, get over to our Discord server and please put your information on that Google Doc. We can give you permission to edit it. Just let us know. It's pinned in the channel, so don't be afraid to look it up. That it's very easy to deal with, and it's going to make life a lot easier moving forward because I can just organize the spreadsheet by race, by class, by profession, however it needs to be organized. And then by the time we get close to when Fresh Start launches, we're going to know exactly who is in what starting zone, how we'll be able to group up, and how we're going to be able to level the fastest to make sure we get to some of that content first or within the first month or so of it happening. So with that being said, thank you guys for your attention. Thank you for the discussion time. I appreciate your attention. Please consider joining our Discord. Please consider posting thoughts in the comments about what Elysium can do better when it comes to our Fresh Start server that's happening. Please consider giving feedback to them directly as well. Again, I don't represent them. I simply provide a means to discuss. But with that being said, thank you everyone for being here on youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show. I've been Dan, and I will see you next time for more live streams and more discussion videos right here on Vanilla WoW. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye now.